Hello, friends. Today we are going to talk about living free in the land of restriction. And it kind of piggybacks off our last lesson of body, soul, and spirit. And if you haven't watched that one, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel down here and go ahead and search that one out. Take a listen before you finish this lesson. Okay, so living free in the land of restriction. As we talked about body, soul, and spirit, we talked about letting the spirit lead and having the soul and the body, of course, submit to the leading of the spirit. So we're going to go a little bit deeper in that and talk a little bit more about where the spirit is leading us and how we can submit, because we mentioned about how the soul might be reluctant to go where the spirit is calling it. So, as we walk with God and grow closer to Him, we find limitations on our lives that maybe weren't there before. We may not act the same way. We may not think the same way. We may not say the same things. We may start to distance ourselves from certain family members or friends. And we don't really make these changes or have these limitations because we're instructed to. But we start to create these new boundaries, which meet our current needs and the direction our lives are going. So in Numbers 34:2, the Lord said to Moses, "Give these instructions to the Israelites. When you come into the land of Canaan, which I am giving you as your special possession, these will be the boundaries." So I want to ask you, have you ever been convicted by the Spirit about anything? And if you haven't, or if you're thinking and you can't really remember a time, let me ask you if you've brought everything you do, everything you see, the way you act, how you live, if you've brought it all before Christ. For example, I can no longer watch certain TV shows, especially ones that depict sexual relationships, really at all. It left me feeling bad about myself, about my marriage, and really like the intimacy with my husband struggled. And I was sharing this struggle with a really great friend, and she asked me point blank, "What are you watching?" And she asked me if I was guarding my heart towards things that were pouring into my life. And I never really sat down to think about how much destruction a TV show could bring in my life. But once I accepted these boundaries, I gained freedom. So I set the boundary of no longer watching that. And the freedom that I gained was time. I was no longer sitting for extended periods of time binging on these episodes. But I also gained freedom in the ability to love my husband in a godly way and to really set the standard of what love and intimacy should look like in my marriage. So although I was setting a boundary about I could no longer watch this TV show, really, once I did that, I was free to operate in the way that a marriage should operate, or at least my marriage should operate. So where I set this healthy boundary for myself was really like ultimately spirit led. Okay, and let me share with you 2 Corinthians 3:17. For the Lord is the Spirit, and wherever the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Grab a drink. So 2 Corinthians 3:17. For the Lord is the Spirit, and wherever the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. We have freedom, and the freedom that we have in Christ is life-changing, life-altering, and ultimately life-giving. We're free from bondage, sin, death, destruction, and strongholds. The Spirit was sent to remind us of God's truth and to guide us. Living in the Spirit may begin to create these boundaries and limitations in our lives, but within these boundaries, we are totally free. We need to think about, like, once we've tasted temptation, we crave it. And we give temptation more and more power over our bodies and our minds. But we can live free in the land of restriction. So we're not living free in the land of restriction so we're not living in the land of restriction when we choose what's best for our bodies, okay? What we're really doing is creating a strong boundary, and we're living in the land of freedom when we let the Spirit lead. So let's not look at a food restriction as a bad limitation. Let's look at it as a safe boundary in which we're free to operate. So let me give you an example. If our standard is that we want to limit our carbohydrates and increase our protein, it's not a restriction. Within these boundaries, I can have potatoes and bread and some other things, fruit, things that I enjoy. In regards to the protein, I can eat red meat. I could have a burger, chicken, lamb, sausage, turkey, anything. I'm free to have many different kinds of food within a portion controlled amount. You'll feel less limited if you establish a strong and well-guided boundary. I want to share a resource with you that I use often, and it's MyFitnessPal, and you can download the app or you can go to myfitnesspal.com. And I'm going to pull it up on the screen and show you a little bit about it. So you will go to myfitnesspal.com, or you can use the app as well. And once you log in, this is kind of like your home screen. So when you establish your account, you can you'll put in your email address, you'll put in your current weight and your height, I do believe, and then you'll put in your weight goal, okay? And this will help kind of keep you on track. Now, it shows me my calories that I can consume each day, and I did that based on my lifestyle as well. I believe there's a sedentary lifestyle, and that really should be selected for anybody that works full-time at a computer. Although you may be getting up and exercising, the majority of your time is spent sitting, and for this to really calculate your caloric needs, even if you exercise daily, that's still going to be what you want to select. You might have moderate exercise or moderate lifestyle, maybe if you're more like a nurse, somebody that works on their feet, a teacher, somebody that's up and around often. So just make sure you're trying to be as detailed as possible to what your current life is. And so I'll see my daily caloric intake, and I can add any exercise, and we can add our food. So let me show you how easy this is. You can go to your food, and this is for today as I'm doing it, and I haven't added anything here. So it's really quick. Down here I can see my totals remaining. It tells you your goal of each fat, carb, and protein. And really, I need to update this because my protein needs should be higher, more around like 125 or 123 for my current goals. So I'll have to take a look into that. But I'm going to show you how easy this is. So for breakfast, I'm going to go in and add my food. And you can type in any food here and save it. It also usually does save a lot of the ones you use often. So that makes it a lot easier to continue to find them quickly. The app is very similar and easy to use too if you're more on your mobile device. So I had my collagen, my protein. I also had it with, where is my, I had 2 large eggs. See, you can change your quantity here, but I had 2 today. Where is my coffee? Coffee, here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and add the checked. And you'll see them populate right here under my breakfast. It shows me all my calories needs, how many carbs I consumed, the fats, and the amount of protein, okay? I need to add a few more things. You can type it in, sprouted bread. You'll click it here. It'll ask you how many servings, and you can pull up the nutrition info to make sure that it matches. Yes, my protein in there was about 4 grams, and my total carbs were 15. So I can add the food to my diary here. Taking a minute. There we go. Then you'll see as it populates too. So it's continuing to add. So let me go back to yesterday's to give you kind of an overview. So I had added all my breakfast, my lunch, my dinner, and my snacks, okay? So I come down here and I had 301 calories remaining, but I'm more on my goal for my carbs. For my fats, we're pretty much on. And again, over in my protein, it shows me that I'm over. But like I just mentioned, I really want my goal to be more around 123, 125, somewhere in there. So when I come down here to look at the breakdown, anytime you're going for weight loss, the ratios of fats and carbs and proteins should be similar. So we want our carbs to be close to 40%. And right there you can see 38. We want our fats and our proteins to be close to 30. So my protein is 32, which is very close to 30. And then my fats are on 30 right there. So it is telling me and showing me that this to me is a very good day. I ate where I should and in line with my dietary needs. It says down here that if I eat like this, I'll weigh 136 pounds in 5 weeks. I don't believe that because of the way I train. I go to put on muscle, so I'm not expecting a drastic weight loss in my changes. However, that by eating that may cause weight loss if that's one of your goals in many of you. So that's an encouraging amount and encouraging to see that when you're on pace, how quickly you could be to your goal weight. This is just a tool that I use. I use the free version. You can update to the premium version. Yeah. So I really hope by showing you that resource, you're able to incorporate it and start using it. Really, it helps us to set healthy boundaries and to have obtainable goals when we're reviewing our food. We're able to really break down our fats, proteins, and carbohydrates and to stay in that healthy boundary. So as you set up your account and put in your current weight and your weight loss goals and all the details that it asks for, you're able to start logging your food and really to understand what's in the food and what they're made up of, to understand if they fall in the category of fats, carbohydrates, or proteins. And then once we have that amount that we can consume, like I mentioned, in my carbohydrates, I could have some white potatoes, or I could have some bread, I could have some sweet potatoes, I can have fruit, I can have all these different things within that realm, and then I limit myself to the amount of that quantity. So I am free in the land of restriction. I have a healthy boundary, a healthy guideline, and then I stay within that with a lot of different variety. So give this app, give this website a try to help you to really reflect on what you're eating and to help you as a guide along our weight loss and along our health journey to understand where you are, where you're going, what you want to be doing, and really just as a tool to help us learn a little bit more about our health and wellness. All right, guys, I'll see you next time.